Arc Thrower is going to be the first support weapon we're going to be taking a look at. This thing absolutely deletes the Illuminates. So we all know there's a bunch of zombies running at you at all times when you're playing against the Illuminates, which honestly is what makes it so much fun. And obviously the biome change and the city and just the lasers and aliens. But anyway, the point is the Arc Thrower gets everything done on a very high level. If you're talking about taking out zombies from far, far away and a bunch of them at the same time, Arc Thrower is going to be your support weapon. Not only does it just stun them and like zap them across the map, but the chaining is also so good that with just a few shots, you're getting kill streaks already. On top of that, if you're getting pushed by melee enemies, flying enemies, overseers, whatever is pushing you, you are literally going to be stunning them in place. And let's say there's like 2 or 3 flying enemies, right? In the same area. You zap one of them, it changed to the other guy, and now you have 2, 3 flying enemies just stunned in the air. It's absolutely phenomenal against them. And once you put a good build together with the Arc Thrower, it really becomes one of the best picks right away. And remember, you can stun lock the tripods. It is pretty crazy because we have a support weapon that pretty much does everything and stun locks the tripods. Now, one thing to mention is that you're not going to be destroying the tripods in like 3 or 4 shots. It's going to take a bunch of shots. However, guys, the fact that one support weapon just takes care of everything against the Illuminates is kind of wild. So you cannot go wrong with this weapon. Next one on the list is Flamethrower. And if you're thinking, Pip, how are you going to be utilizing Flamethrower against the Illuminates? I'm going to tell you all of that, but first let's start with the zombies, right? The cool thing about the Flamethrower has always been the fact, for me personally, that you can spray the ground and keep moving backwards, and you create this huge area of fire, literally as if you just dropped a napalm strike, and these zombies are going to be walking through it. You're walking backwards, they're walking into the fire, and they're going to be burning out very, very easily. You can get very high kill streaks because the Flamethrower just does a lot of damage, right? On top of that, if you combine it with the jump pack, this helps you cover the distance if you're trying to push enemies, or this also helps you with getting out of harm's way. So it's a very fun playstyle, but at the same time, you gotta know what you're doing. So for example, when it comes to melee enemies, if you combine it with some grenades such as the gas or stun, it's an easy kill regardless. But even without the grenades, as long as you keep your distance, you're going to be good to go. You're going to be melting them within seconds. In this case, it's better to direct hit them, by the way, and the same thing goes for the flying enemies. If they are out of your range, that is when you switch to your primary weapon and take care of the flying enemies with that primary weapon. However, when it comes to tripods, this is where it becomes really fun. All you really need is arc armor. If you have the arc resistance armor, you can push the tripods without any issues, because the only thing they can really do to you is zap you as you're getting close with the arc damage. But now you're wearing arc resistant armor, which means that they're really not doing much. So you can kind of run under them and absolutely melt them with your Flamethrower. Now, you guys know I used to do this with the Bile Titans as well, right? We would just kind of run under them and start destroying them with the Flamethrower. Essentially, it's the same thing, but it's a different enemy. That said, do not forget to put on that arc armor, because if you don't do that, you are going to get destroyed. Now let's talk about the laser cannon, because this thing against the Illuminates feels so good. I always wanted this weapon to feel good against the enemies, and it really didn't shine that much against any of them. I mean, it was pretty good against the automatons at some point, but for me personally, Quasar Cannon always felt a little bit better. But now against the Illuminates, it just kills everything. And it's so good. Like, for example, if you're fighting the tripods, just going for that joint area, that connection area between the legs and the head is where it's at. You kind of see their like neck kind of snap down and they go down, and it's such a fun weapon. But not only that, you're going to be melting your melee enemies, flying enemies, overseers, zombies, and like Flamethrower, if you combine it with the jump pack, dude, just covering that distance, like creating this distance between you and your enemies at all times. You're gonna be like jumping away, melting them with your laser, then jumping away again, melting them again, and it's such a cool and fun rotation that I can't really get enough of it. So It is easily one of my favorite weapons against the Illuminates as well when it comes to support weapons. And I'm really happy that the Illuminate didn't end up being this faction where we would just use only one thing, and that's viable. Because currently, there's so many good viable setups and builds and supports and primary weapons. Obviously, some of them are better than others, but there's still a bunch of options, which makes this faction really fun to play against. Now let's talk about the medium machine gun. Because this thing, yeah, it also gets everything done. Everything done. The reload speed is pretty good. And if you do combine this with the new armor, that's when it kind of goes wild. That is kind of true for all machine guns, by the way, because that reload speed increase, even on Stalwart, feels very good. Even more so for the medium machine gun, man. It's a great option currently against the Illuminates. It takes care of the enemies very easily, no matter what's running at you. The ammo economy is very, very nice, especially once again with the armor piece. So if you haven't picked up those armor pieces, make sure to do so. Trust me, you're not going to regret it. Either you get it from the store or the war bond, it doesn't really matter. You're just going to enjoy every second of it. And finally, let's talk about another machine gun, and this time it's going to be the heavy machine gun. This thing is a monster against the Illuminates. So what I like to do is kind of have it on the lower RPM. I know that a lot of people like the highest RPM, but on the lower RPM, on controller specifically, it becomes way easier to control. So when I'm going for those tripod kills, it's much easier to land my shots. When it comes to the zombies, obviously you're going to be one-tapping them very easily. The melee enemies and the flying enemies, overseers, brutes, all those guys, not an issue. You are going to be just going through them like butter. And once again, the armor is where this thing shines. That reload speed, ammo, all of those things combined make the machine guns one of the top picks against the Illuminates, hands down. And especially if you don't enjoy the flamethrower, or you think that the arc thrower, you know, a charge up speed is a little bit on the slower side, you just don't find it fun, any of these machine guns are exceptionally good. Another thing I want to go over about these support weapons, every single one of them, is that it's very important how you build around them. Try to build around it correctly, right? So if you pick the medium machine gun, I would grab, for example, the orbital laser to have a very strong tool if you're getting overwhelmed by the tripods, right? To be honest, the orbital laser could work for any of these because it's very strong against the Illuminates in general, in my opinion. That said, if I'm picking up the heavy machine gun, just because I feel it's better when it comes to the tripods compared to the medium machine gun, I would pick up the strafing run. The reason I like strafe is because I just destroy the shield instantly with the strafe, and then with the heavy machine gun, destroy the tripods. The strafing is actually also very nice against hordes of zombies or brutes or whatever's coming at you. If you're not struggling with the ammo economy of the machine guns and maybe even the reload speed, go for the peak physique, because that one, what that does is it will make the weapons feel so much lighter. It will be like you're using a heavy machine gun, but it's gonna feel like the Stalwart. So that's also a huge detail when it comes to picking up the heavy or the medium MG. If you guys did enjoy this video, and only if you did, slap the like, sub to the channel. I'm going to be dropping more and more content for Helldivers 2. As always, stay positive, stay disciplined, and I'll see you all on the next one.